G'day everybody, Chris from the Headache and Pain Management Centre here for your Monday, and today we're talking about a little bit of information about what neck joints can cause a headache or migraine to happen. It's actually quite common for the joints of the neck to cause headache or migraine to happen, and so we're going to go through that, and by the end of the video you'll know which joints we need to look at to see what it actually happens with all of that. So here we go. So here is the neck joint. So at the back of the neck, so we've got our skull at the top and our top three joints. When we're looking at those top three joints, that's where we're talking headache town there. So that's what we're talking about. So if we look at the neck there's a couple of joints that are there. So the first one is in between the skull and number one. Okay, so it can move and nod in that kind of direction. G'day, it's good to see you there. So it kind of does a bit of a nodding movement like that. The second joint is a spinner, so between number one and number two, and you can see that it turns like that. So that's the second one. And the third joint is like a slider. So you can see there you've got number two and number three, and it moves like this. Okay, there's also a little bit of turning can happen as well. But you've got three joints there, the 0-1 joint, the 1-2 joint, and the 2-3 joint, which all shoot into the brainstem, or the nociceptive input, or the signals from those joints go into your brain, and your brain processes it, and a headache may or may not happen depending on how sensitive it is. Now, the most important thing to know about headache and migraine treatment is to work out exactly which of the joints are actually causing the problem to happen. And a lot of the symptoms that you can get with a headache and migraine will actually tell us where to look. It'll actually start the ball rolling as to whereabouts we should actually look to see where these headaches are coming from. So what we actually find a lot of is that the people that get a lot of tension type headaches are really sort of compressive, sort of around the front of the head, around like a tight band. They're typically at the top joint at 0-1, and then the ones that come up and over into the eye that feel like an exploding out of the eye can be 2-3. 1-2 is actually really rare. So when we've got something like this going on, if you've got something on the lines of, you may have been to a physio or chiropractor before and they're talking about the 1-2 joint being a lot of the issue, they're actually missing the point. It's actually not really common to have headaches that directly refer from C1-2. Quite often, it's actually the muscles around it which give it a bit of a false positive, and in reality it's actually the C01 and the C23 which are actually the biggest causes of headache and migraine. So when you're assessing the neck, it's really important to see which joint is actually causing the headache to happen, and also which direction it's actually causing the problem as well, because as you see here, the number one joint sort of nods, but it also does a little bit of turning as well, so it's important to get the right direction on that. And then the number 2-3 joint, as I showed before, this is better, is actually a bit of a front to back direction and a bit of a turning direction that can come with it as well. So it's really important to get that direction right as well as the joint, because if you get the wrong joint, the right joint but the wrong direction, things can not go quite so well. By the same token, if you're treating the wrong joint, then you can actually put more signal and more sensitization into the system. Now, this is really important if that's happened to you in the past. If you've been to a physio, a chiro, osteo, something like that, and you've been treated and it's got worse after treatment, so you might have found that you've gone in with a bit of a headache and you've walked out with a whopping great big migraine, quite often it's actually treating the correct joint but in the wrong direction. It might have been rotating to the right when it needed to be rotated left, or something along those lines. So it's really important when you're getting this assessed that you know which joint is the problem, which direction's the problem, and you're able to turn it on and off like almost a switch. You're able to reproduce the pain of the headache to diagnose if that pain is actually coming from your neck. The important thing after reproducing the pain is making sure that it resolves under your thumb as well. So when we're going through and assessing this sort of stuff, we're feeling the joints of the neck, how tight it is, how stiff it might be, what direction is tight, and then we're also finding if it's referring pain into the head and if it's reducing as we're holding the pressure under our thumb. So it's generally just up in through here for people that have headache and migraine where the problem lies. Now, we've actually written a little bit of an ebook about all of this sort of stuff, about how the brain is able to give take the information from the top three joints of the neck and actually cause all of these things to happen. So even if you're having things like triggers, your red wine, your chocolate, perhaps fatigue or stress or things like that, they can actually come from the neck. It's actually the neck joints which are causing the issue. So we've written a little ebook about that. And if you're interested in that ebook, type in ebook below into the comments. We're more than happy to send that to you because it's giving you a lot of information about how all of this works. If you don't want that ebook, but you just want to have a chat to us, you can actually type in the word migraine underneath the comments, and that will also tell us that you'd like to have a chat about your headache and migraine and how your neck might be causing it from there. I hope that's been really helpful for you. As I said before, the top 3 joints of the neck can cause headache to happen. It's important to know which direction, which joint to get the best outcomes from there. If you've got any questions, type in below, like, share, comment, and we'll see you again for the next Facebook Live video. Cheers and bye for now.